Hello. This is John T. Rhapsodes, Esquire, Purveyor of Awesome old-school audio stories. I bring you today a short classic Christmas fable published by the Brothers Grimm in 1812 called The Elves and the Shoemaker. The Grimm brothers, Jakob and Wilhelm, walked the earth in Germany from the late 1700s to the mid-1800s. They are best known the world over for collecting and adapting fables and fairy tales from Germanic folklore. If you like awesome old-school audio stories from old minds that were once young minds, brought to you free of charge and with a happy and grateful heart, consider while listening to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications to get notice of new stories. Some funny, some spooky, all awesome. These simple acts will help this channel immensely. And now, hear the words of old. The Elves and the Shoemaker, published by the Brothers Grimm in 1812. There once was a shoemaker who worked very hard and was very honest. But still he could not earn enough to live upon. And at last all he had in the world was gone, save just leather enough to make one pair of shoes. The shoemaker cut the last leather out in basic shoe shapes, meaning to rise early in the morning to complete his work. His conscience was clear, and his heart light amidst all his troubles. So he went to bed peaceably, left all his cares to heaven, and soon fell asleep. In the morning, after he had said his prayers, the shoemaker sat himself down to his work, when, to his great wonder, there stood the shoes already made upon the table. The good man knew not what to say or what to think at such an odd thing happening. He looked at the workmanship. There was not one false stitch in the whole job. All was so neat and true that it was quite a masterpiece. The same day a customer came in, and the shoes suited him so well that he willingly paid a price higher than usual for them. And the poor shoemaker, with the money, bought leather enough to make 2 more pairs. In the evening, the shoemaker cut out the work from the leather, and went to bed early that he might get up and begin early next day. But he was saved all the trouble, for when he got up in the morning, the work was already done. Soon came in more customers, who paid him handsomely for his goods, so that he bought leather enough for 4 pair more. The shoemaker cut out the work again overnight, and found it done in the morning as before. And so it went on for some time. What was got ready in the evening was always done by daybreak, and the good man soon became thriving and well off again. One evening, about Christmas time, as the shoemaker and his wife were sitting over the fire chatting together, he said to her, "I should like to sit up and watch tonight, that we may see who it is that comes and does my work for me." The shoemaker's wife liked the idea, so they left a candle burning, and hid themselves in a corner of the room behind a curtain, and watched what would happen. At the stroke of midnight, there came in the shoe shop 2 little elves wearing thin rags, and they sat themselves upon the shoemaker's bench, took up all the leather work that was cut out, and began to ply with their little fingers, stitching and wrapping and tapping away at such a rate that the shoemaker was all wonder, and could not take his eyes off them. And on the elves went, till the job was quite done, and the shoes stood ready for use upon the table. This was long before daybreak, and then they bustled away as quick as lightning. The next day the wife said to the shoemaker, "These little elves have made us rich, and we ought to be thankful to them, and do them a good turn if we can. I am quite sorry to see them run about in those rags as they do, and indeed it is not very decent, for they have little upon their backs to keep off the cold. I'll tell you what, I will make each of them a shirt, and a coat, and waistcoat, and a pair of pantaloons into the bargain, and you should make each of them a little pair of shoes." The thought pleased the good cobbler very much, and so, one evening, when all the little clothes and shoes were ready, the shoemaker and his wife laid them on the table instead of the leather shoework, and then hid themselves to watch what the little elves would do. At the stroke of midnight in came the elves, dancing and skipping and hopping around the room. Then they went to sit down to their work as usual. But when they saw the clothes and little shoes waiting for them, they laughed and chuckled, and seemed mightily delighted. Then the elves dressed themselves in the twinkling of an eye, and danced and capered and sprang about as merrily as could be, till at last they danced out the door and away from sight. The good couple saw the elves no more, but everything went well with them from that time forward as long as they lived. And that concludes the old Christmas story from the Brothers Grimm called The Elves and the Shoemaker. This is John T. Rhapsodies, Esquire, purveyor of awesome old-school audio stories. Thank you for listening. And if you are listening to this in the month of December, Merry Christmas. And remember, hear the words of old.